What up, is Marcus? We're going to be talking about the week one here. I mean, week one was full of some really big ups and some really big downs. Now, we had some stars that burned bright, and we had some stars that didn't show up. Some of them didn't even hit the field. I mean, if you're talking about Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews, I mean, they didn't even step foot on the field, and then you had some that did step foot on the field, like Jamar Chase and then the Joe Burrow. They just seemed non-existent. I mean, even Saquon Barkley was a pretty bad performance here. And so I always want to tell people, sometimes you have to remind yourself, man, some of these stars are going to have these huge weeks, like Tony Pollard, like Christian McCaffrey, like Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill. And you're going to have some weeks where they're just not going to be so well, like Jamar Chase did. I mean, he just didn't have a very good performance, and you're going to have some other running backs that didn't as well. And so the stars are going to sometimes burn really bright, and sometimes they're going to cost you some weeks. And that's why you draft some of these stars like Tyreek Hill. Like, he could come up next week with 3 for 43. But man, it was fun to watch. We're going to go through some injuries here. J.K. Dobbins, torn Achilles, super sad. One of my favorite prospects coming out of Ohio State. ACL injury, comes back healthy, and now an Achilles injury. The death, the RIP to what a running back is now. And so I think that this is close to a career ender for J.K. Dobbins. For somebody who's already fighting with the Ravens staff, I think he's going to be somebody that you're going to see on the Deontay Foreman path, which you're going to see him potentially be a backup somewhere else and maybe get filtered in. But this is probably writing on the wall for J.K. Dobbins, which means the Ravens are going to be the biggest team to watch for the 2024 draft class. Justice Hill, Gus Edwards. I think Gus Edwards is going to be the starting running back, but I think Justice Hill will be kind of that third down-ish back, and you saw him actually get 2 touchdowns as well. If I were going into waivers, which we're going to talk about tomorrow, Gus Edwards would be the priority, not Justice Hill, who had 2 touchdowns. So that's a big injury. Aaron Jones, got to keep an eye on that. Pulled up on a touchdown reception. Of course, I needed that last year as I was a big A.J. Dillon owner, and this year I just didn't own any of him, so that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I think Aaron Jones, a older running back, and so will he recover well through this? Also, Bears looked absolutely horrible. Sometimes this happens week one. We can't overreact too much because we've seen the Packers lose by, what was it, like 40 points to the Saints a couple of years back, and all of a sudden they rolled off like 8 straight after that. So you just, week one, you throw it away, and sometimes you reassess. I mean, Washington really almost wanted to throw this away. Man, I got a little bit of cough going on. All right, breakouts and rookies. Rookies, you look at how well Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson and Jordan Addison and Zay Flowers looked in small bursts and stretches. Just know that they are going to be a lot better the second half of the year. And so if you can still buy them for any type of dip, at which Bijan, maybe you go, oh wow, Tyler Algier looking like he might be a really big thorn in Bijan's side. No, not really. Halfway through the year, Bijan is going to be plenty fine taking all the carries, or majority of the carries, and Tyler Algier will be distant wayside here. Same for Jahmyr Gibbs. I think David Montgomery is a capable running back. He was drafted early by the Bears, and they paid him good money at Detroit, but I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be more that 50-50 touch, and he's going to have more valuable touches, Jahmyr Gibbs. He's going to be the more reception back. As you saw, David Montgomery didn't do any receptions. And so breakouts, rookies, what are we looking for? We're looking for these second-year players. Jahan Dotson had an okay performance. Drake London, where are you? Where are you, Drake London? I have no idea. It's Atlanta. If they're gonna throw the ball 150 yards and they're gonna pass or run for 250. It's gonna be a long season for Pitts. It's gonna be a long season for Drake London, and it's just gonna be very frustrating because they have extremely high talent in the reception area. But if you're not gonna throw the ball to Bijan, to Pitts, to Drake London, if this is a little bit of snippet, I put a yellow for a warning, maybe even almost an orange. This is a warning of hey, these guys actually might not perform this year to the ability that we want them to, based off of purely situation. Unless Taylor Heineke takes over, which I'm actually rooting for. Desmond Ridder is a guy who literally threw 2 touchdowns last year in his 4 starts and 0 picks. He's very game manager. He does not make risks, but also it's just not a good way to give fantasy production, which sucks. Handcuffs. If we're learning anything on handcuffs, sometimes you want somebody else's handcuffs. Honestly, I like having other people's handcuffs instead of my own for that risk of if you get somebody else's injury, you automatically are like, woohoo! Like I have Gus Edwards in a league where I don't own J.K. Dobbins. In that league, I am extremely happy. But it can be vice versa. I have a league where I have J.K. Dobbins and no Gus Edwards, and I feel extremely sad. And so you have to risk out. Sometimes it's nice to have that handcuff because there's also a league. I have J.K. Dobbins and I have Gus Edwards, and I'm kind of like, oh, well, that's fine. But again, if you want that championship type team, especially in redraft, in Dynasty, handcuffs are much more important. In redraft, this is more redraft. A handcuff is not necessarily as important because if you're already a bad team, if you lose J.K. and go down to Gus, if you lose Christian McCaffrey and go to Elijah Mitchell, you're losing already that much that your team is probably not going to be a championship contender. And so you want to be able to hit where all of a sudden, let's say J.K. Dobbins, you have Christian McCaffrey and J.K. Dobbins, Christian McCaffrey and Gus Edwards, and let's say J.K. Dobbins goes down like he did, now you have Christian McCaffrey and Gus Edwards, and now your team has just gotten that much better, and you can continue to build these almost super teams, which is what you want to do, and a lot of it's luck. Again, a lot of it is luck, but you have to be able to make those risks. Waivers, we're going to do waivers tomorrow. We're going to be going through some of the biggest pickups because of some of these injuries, some of these breakouts. Again, you saw some of these, you saw like Hayden Hurst show out. You saw some people absolutely fall off the map. You might see Drake London get dropped. I don't think you will, but maybe he gets dropped. You might see some other players get dropped that just, who knows? Maybe somebody's already mad enough at Kyle Pitts that they're just like, I can't deal with this anymore. You might see Jake Ferguson get dropped. You might see some of these players start to hit the waiver wire, and so we want to watch some of these players too, because a lot of times people will drop players, and I've watched so many times. I'm looking at the waivers and I'm going, wow, the best waiver pickup was actually somebody that was dropped just because they had a bad week one. It's all right. So again, this is Marcus Dynasty Football Dads. Peace out. We'll see you tomorrow with waivers.